We're back with another episode of Franchise My Business, the podcast for franchisors, hosted by franchisors. I'm your host, Kevin Oldham, and you guys know that I start off this episode, every single episode, as being very excited. The reason why is because before we hit record every week, I talk with our guests ahead of time, and I get a lot of energy from them. And I'm excited today because this is the first husband and wife co-founder couple that we've had on the show. We've had co-founders who are husband and wife before, but we've never had both on the show. So there's going to be a different set of dynamics that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what it's like to work with your spouse, maybe how you turn that off at night when it's family time. We're going to talk about franchising. And moreover, we're going to talk about something that's super, super important to humanity. We're going to talk about code. Code drives the world today. And so without further ado, I want to welcome Vishal Bhasin and his amazing wife, Venus, to the show. They are the co-founders of Wize Computing Academy. Welcome.
Thank you, Kevin. Glad to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you guys. I'm glad that you both were able to make it to today's recording session because there are a lot of people in my life that just come to me for counsel and things like that. And working with your spouse is one of those topics that comes up more often than you would think. And so one of the things I want to do is tap into that. But before we get into that, I want to learn a little bit more about your company, your franchising journey. So let's go back to the beginning. When did you launch your company and why?
Certainly. So I'll take that. So Venus and I, we started Wize Computing Academy in 2015, early 2015. And we're here based in Dallas-Fort Worth in a suburb called Coppell. That's where we are headquartered out of. And, we embarked on this journey together. We were working full-time at the time. And then Venus, we had our third baby. We have three kids, two girls and a boy. And we had third one, same year. And Venus decided to sort of take this on full-time. And we started franchising in 2018. Late 2018, we sold our first franchise early 2019. And, what we do is we focus on children enrichment education in the STEM or STEAM space, which stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And we do it through the medium of coding, robotics, and design. Mm-hmm. We work with schools, preschools, community centers, a lot of faith-based organizations like churches and temples. And we also work with families directly. We have 19 franchise locations, 3 of them are in Canada. And we have a company office, which we like to call Franchise Zero. And we have a small satellite office in India as well.
Franchise Zero. I like that. So that's kind of the name of your support team, right? Your support team, or the support team comes to Franchise Zero. Or was Franchise Zero Franchise Zero an operational location? Was it your prototype that you then rolled out? Or is it like more of a home?
And it continues to be. It continues to be. And that's why it's called Franchise Zero, because we do everything that our franchisees do, and we're able to introduce new things, try new things here. And Venus can tell you a little bit more about that. She runs all of that operation.
Yeah, I wanted.
So as I call it, a testing bed.
Yes.
A franchise Coppell location. So anything new that we have, we try it at our location, just to make sure that if there's anything that has to be changed, our business owners are protected of that, and any reiteration has to be done to the schedule. All that happens at our Franchise Zero. And also, we're setting examples too. It's not just you're talking theoretically, you're talking practical, what works, what does not work, and you're talking from experience. And I can talk about myself. Other than being a co-founder, I'm also an instructor. So I walk into the classrooms as well, and I coach for the competitions. So it's more hands-on when I'm talking to my franchise owners of what works and what is it that you should do in a situation like that, because I have gone through that journey personally, either myself or my instructors have, and we are very close-knit setup within our Franchise Zero location and also within Wize Computing Academy. So we meet with our business owners every so often, make sure that we understand what issues they're facing, and we can relate to that from what we're experiencing in our home location.
It's super smart, super smart. I mean, we took custodianship of one of our smoothie shops during the pandemic and then remodeled it and operated it. And I realized how much credibility that gave us to anybody who was thinking about joining us in the journey. When we on the second day, none of the employees showed up, and my business partner, I was in Florida, and my business partner had to open the store. He's an attorney, by the way. Open the store, run the cash register, make smoothies. He had a line, backed up, and so he got the sweat beads coming down. I'm like, that's what, the real world stuff that we can experience as a franchisor, and then have empathy for our franchisees. But frankly, it also makes us more valuable to buy from because we're walking the walk. It's integrity. And I love the fact that you're doing that. I love the fact that you call it store number 0 too. Like it's not number 1, number 0.
Right.
I want to talk a little bit more about, so I'm on your website right now, and I am in love with your curriculum. I just have to say it out loud. In particular, I'm in love with the one that's third from the bottom, which says entrepreneurship, how to start a business. You have a class on that you teach kids. That is so cool. Do you know how cool that is? Like, that is so cool that you're giving kids the opportunity to go to a formal setting and learn how to do this, because they don't teach this in school.
Yeah, and this, I'm sure listeners who are parents, and even if they're not parents, they have nieces and nephews. Kids have a ton of ideas.
Yes, they do.
And it really allows them to bring them to fore. And the end of this program, we run this as summer camp as well. The end of this program, the last year of the summer camp, is really this showcase where they're allowed to showcase whether it's a product, a service, how they plan to implement it, how they plan to market it, what the cost of it would be. And parents can come in and talk to them and sort of do a Shark Tank like an environment. And that is really cool because it allows them to just be themselves and present all their ideas in front of not just us, but also their parents and other folks within a school system.
I love it. I love it. I think one of the things that I think is cool about you all as well, because coding schools, there's different brands that are out there, is the depth of your curriculum. Like the depth of your curriculum, because we sent our son to one of those, a couple summers ago. They basically had like 4 classes we could choose from. It was a Minecraft and Roblox class and a couple other things. But as I'm looking at your curriculum, you have that, but also you have so many other things like how to code, control, and fly drones, super applicable to today's world. AI, building websites. Like, how did you guys come about developing your curriculum? Frankly, in a way that I think is more, it gives kids more opportunities and more choices than some of the other programs that are out there.
So Kevin, it's very astute of you to actually point that out. We work extremely hard to create depth and breadth, right? Venus and I, we come from the tech industry. I worked in the enterprise technology space for over 22, 23 years. Venus has done too. So for us, providing that breadth and depth at every level. So if you look at our curriculum, it starts at introductory level, goes to beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And we look at our curriculum in 3 different buckets: design, build, and code. Build or robotics and code. And everything goes hand in hand. You can design things, but to really have that see the light of the day, you may have to build it. A 3D model may have to be printed, and you find out, especially when you're a child, you find out that everything you designed, it didn't come up that way when you printed it. So 99% of times it won't, right? So you have to go back and change your design and, retrofit that. And so it's an iterative process. And that's a very cool thing because, we are engineers. We believe in learning by doing, right? if you think about it, there's really two ways where you can really learn something very well.
Mm-hmm.
The first way is by teaching it, and the second way is by doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are other ways too. You can listen to it, you can read about it, you can write about it, but the two best ways are these. And we are strong believers with engineering background in learning by doing,
Yep.
right? So in experiential learning. So having that depth and breadth of curriculum and keeping it enriched and enhanced and current all the time, I think that separates us. That creates a lot of buffer, from us and the competitors. We are able to give them this depth and breadth and walk them through that in beginner to advanced, and they don't have to get bored. They don't have to just keep doing
Right.
coding. They can do design, they can do game design, they can do 3D design, they can do entrepreneurship. So it's like it's a fluid back and
Mm-hmm.
forth that they can do, and that provides a very good, fulfilling enrichment curriculum.
Yeah.
And
I,
just to add to what Vishal said, one more thing that I would tell you that happens in the classroom, like you mentioned about your son. So your son sold on Minecraft, but if I tell him, hey, let's go and do some engineering or robotics, because he's so sold on Minecraft, he has set his head like, this is what I'm good at. But he's too young to set himself on that because he has not even experienced the other side. And, we see though that happening in the classroom all the time. Once you bring in the variety, you do what they want you to do to start with, but slowly you can also deviate them or expose them to other aspects of technology
mm-hmm.
because they're for them to make an opinion that this is all what coding or STEM or technology is about is kind of a very microscopic view. But we want to increase their horizon because they just don't know what their talents could be. We've seen students who feel that engineering is their core strength, but the moment they came on the designing part of it, the color choices for their website that they build or the 3D model that they printed were absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, when you have that variety, you're basically gradually increasing the horizon of a child, and they're kind of also getting more options further down the career when they have to make a choice. What could I be, 10 years from now or 5 years from now, based on where they are.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, and I love that because if I think back to my son's experience, he was like, okay, it's kind of like he could take it or leave it. It was okay. It wasn't anything he wanted to do again the next summer, but if there would have been more options for him, right? Like I feel like he would have been
Yeah.
super interested in the drone thing. He's got a little toy drone right now. He thinks it's fascinating. I think he sees what dad does building businesses. He's got a side hustle. He picks up dog poop, and so like I'm like he might have been in that. So what you've done for your franchisees is you've provided a really nice continuity layer of curriculum that will increase the lifetime value of your customers for them, and that's really smart in engineering your business model as well as helping the kids. So good.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Typically, students stay with us for many, many
Yeah.
years because we start at a very young age of 4 and we go all the way to high school. And this, students have students in elementary school have a lot more time on enrichment, and the time as they go into middle and high school, that sort of starts to go down
Yeah.
a little bit. But if we can keep their interest high and they start to see that these are their core strength, to use Venus's words, they know that these are the kind of things that they may want to do as they get into middle school, high school, and even college.
Beautiful. All right, let's talk about going into business with your spouse. Whew, big topic. I love it. We're going to dive in. So, were you married in 2015 when you started this business?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very
Just
much so.
didn't
We
want to
actually
be
had 2 kids, and then third one came in, right after we started the business. So the same year.
okay. So you've got children, you've got the whole catastrophe of life. You've got business that you're starting, you're married, you've got children, you're having another one right after you start. My biggest question is because as we were visiting before, I'm like, I'm not sure if my wife and I are ever supposed to work together. She would probably say the same thing. How, like, how did you guys feel comfortable diving into business together? Was it just something that you felt in your heart? Because that's a common question that a lot of people ask me. Like, what's your thoughts on partners with your spouse? I'm like, well, your spouse is always your business partner. My wife is my business partner. She just doesn't work with me here every single day. So do you guys, did you have to have some deep conversations with each other before you did about your marriage, before you decided to go into business together? Or was it easy for you to say, hey, we're going to do this?
I could take that
Venus,
question.
do you want to start?
Sure.
Vishal, you're not important here. Let the ladies speak. You and I don't matter right now. Venus, that question was for you.
Sure. So I feel at the start of it, it is the comfort and the conversations that we have outside of, just the family part of it. Just as two individuals, we naturally have alignment to a lot of thoughts and ideas that we exchange. I think just having that comfort level and having those synergies helped a lot. So we did not have to consciously have a discussion of how it would be if we were working together. So it was a very natural flow for us to kind of dwell into the system, and both of us having the same backgrounds as well, software development, that also kind of created another connection of synergies between us. And I would say having kids was the biggest plus, because that was a common thing. And, our whole model of Wize Computing Academy was to bring in the STEM education for young learners. And when Wize Computing Academy was born, it all started with our oldest. She was in kindergarten, and she would often kind of come and toggle into our laptops. And, of course, your code gets messed up, but hey, what we saw was an interest there. And so, that kind of sparked more questions in our head of what is it that we can do to cater to that kind of interest that she is showing. And I'll let Vishal add more.
Yeah, so I think that's exactly, this whole idea came upon because we had a 6-year-old and we wanted an education like this for her. And, we didn't really see that being presented to her. Mm-hmm. And we felt like this is something with our backgrounds we could do. Yeah. But going towards your main question on, doing this as a couple, there's obviously pros and cons to that. From a biggest pro, I would say it's the trust, the level of comfort that you have. It's very hard to, I'm not saying it's impossible, it's very hard to find that outside. Now, on the con side is to compartmentalize that. Yeah. And I wouldn't say we are successful at that at all times. Right. That's a work in progress. Yeah. But any relationship, whether it's business or personal, is built on trust. Mm-hmm. And having somebody by you who you can trust, that's a great start. Yeah. And I think one of the things for us was we have natural abilities that are totally opposite of each other. And, things that Venus can do, I really suck at. And I can focus on things that Venus doesn't want to focus mm-hmm. on. So those are the things that did help us to be sort of clearly define the things that, each one of us would focus on, having that level of trust. I would say we are still working on compartmentalizing it. We are not there yet. Well,
I like how you didn't say, I work on things that my wife sucks at. So that was good. I mean, you're trained. You're like, I work on things Venus doesn't want to work on. That was really well. So yeah, I mean, he's trained Venus. He's a keeper.
I'm not letting him go.
So there's a very powerful book. I don't know if you've ever read it or heard of it, by a gentleman by the name of Gino Wickman. But he wrote Rocket Fuel. Have you ever heard of that?
Never heard. We like to do audiobooks, but no, I'm going to write it down.
Well, you don't even need to write it down. I'm going to give you the summary. And most books can be summarized in 60 seconds. They have one big idea. And the one big idea there is that every successful business has two key components to it. There's the visionary and then there's the implementer. And it's rare that they're the same person, because us visionaries are kind of crazy and thinking big and thinking 10 years down the road. And the implementer's like, okay, that's great. But how do we make, as my wife says, my wife is an operations person and I'm a visionary. She'll be like, okay, that's great, Kevin, but how do we make widget number one? Whatever it is, right? How do we make widget number one? Are you, because I'm going to make some generalizations. A lot of engineers may not have that visionary mindset. I feel like you guys do have it based on your curriculum. Which one of you is more visionary and which one of you is more the implementer?
I would give the vision part to Vishal because he just does an amazing job on looking at things from a 1,000 feet view. And sometimes the solutions he comes up with, I'm like, how did you even think?
Yeah.
So he definitely has that ability of thinking out of the box. So there's situations, sticky situations that I get in. I just have to call him if he's not around me. What do you think? And his solution is just going to be. I would be thinking on tangent A, he would go on tangent Z. And he's like, try that.
Yeah.
So that definitely helps. I'm more on ops as well. Multitasking, those are definitely my strengths as well. So I think we create a good balance between the two.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think Venus can juggle 20 balls, and I struggle with one. I like to do one thing at a time, and I really cannot. I don't think I'd be able to do what she does. So it is certainly complementary skills for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, I always say that women can generally run circles around men in the workplace. It's kind of weird as I've looked back at my career. I've almost always had female bosses. I've worked with females, and they're just way more organized and able to manage a lot more chaos than us. I'm like you. If I have a bunch of different tasks, like I might get freaked out, but I can usually do like one thing to completion at a time, and then kind of go from
Yeah,
there. So let's go back to the franchise. Thanks for letting us peer into your marriage a little bit. I think that's super
sure,
helpful for
sure.
people. When did you guys build this business to franchise, or were you accidental franchisors?
Well, we wanted it to be a scalable business from day one. My background is very much in enterprise architecture. When you do that, you sort of are always looking at, how do you make it like 10x and 10, 20x and 100x, right? So it's always been that way. We knew about franchising from day one. I don't think we knew that it is going to be a
Okay.
franchise. I think every business has choices that they have to make, right? You could go raise a bunch of money and then do it yourself and have your own sort of units. Or we decided that, for us and with having 3 kids and so many things going on in family, we felt like bringing franchise partners who have a skin in the game, are very talented, have really great background, are going to almost always outperform managers that we will hire. And we felt that franchising, and also it allows us to grow with much lesser, money, so to speak, right?
Yep.
So we are bootstrapped, and we've always been that way
Cool.
to this day. So for us to sort of use that methodology to grow, that just made sense, and we felt like we will continue to sort of grow this way. And for us, we are really this, our main purpose is we are this platform or this vehicle that is taking the friction out of kids who want to learn these skills and people who want to teach these skills, right?
Yeah.
Our franchise partners are our partners doing the same thing, right? So for us, it's a great model. Of course, there are pros and cons to everything you do in life, but I think pros outweigh the con in franchising for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I also noticed you have a foundation, Wize Foundation. You want to tell us a little bit about what that is and how it came to be and what it does in the world, how it helps people?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a relatively new thing, Kevin. It's been around for, I would say, about a year or so. Really, what we wanted to do was we wanted to partner with non-profit organization and offer them high quality education, whether it's for free or a very reduced
Yeah.
rate, so that our main purpose is to reach to maximum number of students, right? What we are teaching, it's not just for kids who live in
Right.
suburbs. It's not just for kids of families who can afford it. It's for everybody. These are the skills that everyone needs to learn, right? So idea was, how do we do that? How do we achieve that? And as our kids are growing, we want them to sort of get exposed to this also. So like our kids, they go through our program just like anybody else
Hmm.
would, right? Our eldest one, she's a freshman now, and she has been doing a lot of Wize foundation work. She did that in summer as well, and we are also doing some of that. So the idea is to basically spread the wealth of knowledge, whether it is through Wize Computing Academy or Wize Foundation, right? But it's a relatively new thing. We are still trying to figure out what is the best
Yeah.
way. We partnered with some local nonprofits here in Dallas, and we sort of will want to continue to do
I
that.
think that anytime that you can do something that's bigger than yourself and outside of your main way of generating, value for people and as well as, your company, that is part of what I think we as business owners, it's kind of almost a responsibility. Because if we have the means to do something, it's almost like selfish not to. And so I love it. You'll find, this won't be the last time that we talk. I love kids. I love businesses that help kids get a leg up in the world because they need it. They need help. There's so many kids that are passively parented, I guess I would say, right? And in today's chaotic world, that can be a very risky thing, And so if you can get children interested in learning life skills, things that, they may not be a coder when they come out in the real world, but they'll have those problem solving skills. And the cool thing is they will have got,
Yep,
they would have
absolutely.
got, like my parents sent me to coding school. I'm going to show my age. Like this is 1981. DOS had just came out, basic. I went to a basic programming.
Yeah.
My dad was an early adopter of technology. And so we had like a 486 computer, but I still remember my parents and I thank them for taking that time, even though I don't remember what they taught me, but they understood that computers were important. They're like, this is going to be a thing, and we want to get our kid experience at least in front of a keyboard using this thing, right? And so I think if nothing else, if you
Yeah.
guys just open your eyes to more opportunities for kids, you're attracting the right franchisees who care about children and their curriculum as much as you do. The sky's the limit for you all. So thanks.
Absolutely. So I'm going to date myself too. 486 was the first computer with a hard disk.
Yes, it was. You could
So
actually save stuff.
I very happy. Right, right. No, absolutely. So the concept that that we sort of believe in is we call it hooks for a lack of a better word. Like your son, he loves to play Minecraft,
Hmm.
right? We can bring him to a class like ours and say, "Hey, you love Minecraft. Let us show you that instead of spending 1 hour to build this building or whatever you're building, we'll show you how you can learn to code and it can automatically do for you what you were doing in less than a second,
Right.
right?" So there are so many things that you can show them superpowers so that they can do better things. They don't have to replace, code doesn't have to replace what they're doing. They can actually now focus on doing things that they would not have
Hmm.
otherwise,
Yeah.
right? Because now he can build a whole city as opposed to just building a building because he's got code to build multiple
Yeah.
buildings, right? So, and also not everybody has to be a software developer. I think having those general cognitive skills, logical thinking, critical reasoning, working as a team, being able to express yourself in front of others, being able to convince others of your ideas, those things are required no matter what you do and where you go.
Absolutely.
Right.
What do you guys see as next for your company? Any big things? Or are we just going to continue doing what we've been doing, not grow too fast? Like, what do you see as if I were to say, hey, in 5 years, what do you think your company's going to be? What's your guess?
Yeah, I would say, I think we continue to see ourselves as this platform that's reducing or eliminating the friction to offer this high quality education. There are so many things that are happening in the world that we live in, right? The technological
Yeah.
changes, whether it's AI, whether it's Web 3.0, whether it is art, mixing art into what we do, right? Automation. There are so many things that are happening, and for us, the most important thing is to make sure that we are teaching all these things to our kids at the very young age, right? So that they are not just, fundamental skills don't change, but how you teach them, what technologies do you use to teach them, that needs to change. And that needs to keep up, right? Schools are struggling with how do we use AI, right? You want to make sure you want to, introduce that to kids, but also be careful and mindful of all the things that can go wrong as well. So, I think having that adoption, having that mentality of being on the bleeding edge and cutting edge and ensuring that we provide that kind of platform to our learners, whether we do that for hundreds of kids or thousands of kids or millions of kids, right? For us, our main goal is to reach to maximum number of learners. That's the baseline. And we are today with the thousands of students. The things that we are thinking of is how do we get to 10,000 students and 100,000 students and beyond. So whether that happens asynchronously or synchronously, we are certainly exploring them, and hopefully we can find the things that would work well, right? I think the main thing is not to dilute what we are doing, right? Keep that quality and engagement level up as we scale. So we are, we're looking at various options and, sort of see how we can scale up 10x or 100x, but keep up the level of intensity.
Yeah.
And just to add to what Vishal said, that we have a platform. I would say we have the coolest platform. As we walk into the classroom, kids love to see us just because we're teaching the cool thing. We're teaching them technology. We're teaching them on the platforms they like to play on. So holding that responsibility that we are actually kind of creating their interest and also building their passion when it comes to STEM education is a responsibility we hold on our shoulders, and so does our instructors, because we work with high schoolers who do internship as well. Some of them have exposure to coding early on, some of them don't, and you can truly see a difference between a person or a child who has done early on coding or robotics back in their elementary and middle versus a high schooler who's kind of absolutely fresh. So their skill set is not at that level, and it's not their fault. It's just that, they never had a chance or they never had an opportunity of exposure. So the fact that, we are interacting with these young kids at that age, creating that impression, creating that dent in their mind that STEM is fun. STEM is something that will help you no matter what profession you pick in your life. I feel is a social responsibility that we carry in our hearts too, as a company, and we want to make sure that we spread that passion for STEM education.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I love your energy. I hope that we're obviously recording this in video as well as audio. If somebody's listening on audio, I invite you to go to our YouTube channel. You'll get to see our guests, but you'll get to see this amazing couple and the cool things that they're doing. If people want to learn more about, your organization, where's the best place for them to go? Let's say somebody's listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to buy a franchise. Where should they go to do that?
Certainly. So wizeacademy.com/franchise info gives a good high level information about who we are, what we do. There's contact pages, there's form that they can fill in. There's contact information on our website. The other place that I would point them to is just social media. Cool. They can go to Facebook/Wize Academy, Instagram/Wize_Academy, or just search up Wize Computing Academy on LinkedIn. We are in pretty much all social platforms, and they can really see the kind of things that we are doing. Of course, we have a few marketing videos, but most of the things that we put there are the things that we are doing daily.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for taking time out of both of your days to visit with us. I had a blast with this episode. I can't wait for it to publish. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin, for having us. Thank you for the opportunity. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. I really love the fact that you did your homework. You are the first person who asked us about Wize Foundation.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to take if somebody wants to be a guest, First of all, it's not easy. We ask a lot of questions, but we ask that because we want to dive in and we want to get to know our guests. So thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Kevin Oldham, and I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Furthermore, if you're somebody who's working with your spouse or thinking about working with your spouse, or you know somebody that's in that boat, go ahead and share this episode with them right now. Until next time, I'm your host, Kevin Oldham. I hope that you have a phenomenal week and be well.